your soul rest in peace. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I invite Honourable Minister Dr. Gopaul to address us, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is irrefutable that the Budget 2014 is one which will create a better Guyana in the interest of all Guyanese. The Honorable Minister of Finance, Dr. Ashni Singh, and his staff deserve our commendation and praise for a job well done. The stakeholders have had consultations on the budget prior to its presentation, and many of the stakeholders, including those of Labour and the private sector, have since its presentation applauded the government and the Minister of Finance on the 2014 budget. It is unfortunate that the opposition parties did not avail themselves to the invitations of the Minister of Finance to engage in the discussion on the budget prior to its presentation. This indeed is a lost opportunity, but when we listen to the opposition, all we hear are negative views with no real or concrete proposal or sound advice to enhance the budget or the economy. I therefore speak today in support of this budget and urge that it be given unanimous acceptance in this House. Mr. Speaker, before I go into details of the budget discussion, I merely wish to highlight some of the activities successfully undertaken by my ministry during the year 2013. The Labour Department. The Ministry of Labour, Occupational Safety and Health Department during the period under review made some significant achievements in the following areas. One, we ratified the ILO Convention 189 on domestic workers, thus making Guyana the first country in the Caribbean to ratify the Domestic Workers Convention in August 2013. We prosecuted 19 cases which were reported for failing to pay the minimum wage, and charges were filed against one of the largest security firms for violating the national minimum wage, and that is the Strategic Action Security Service. On the national minimum wage, we issued the work order which became effective, as the Minister indicated in his budget, 1st of July 2013. The new order stipulates a 40-hour work week at 5 days per week, 8 hours daily. The new order paved the way for new categories of workers to benefit under the 40 hours work week scheme. As the Minister pointed out in his budget speech, over 31,000 workers have benefited from this arrangement and are now entitled to leave with pay benefits. I heard Honorable Member Ms. Valda Lawrence spoke just now on violation of workers' rights. But these two measures, Mr. Speaker, the signing of the Convention 189, as well as the introduction of the minimum wage order, offered real protection to workers whom she mentioned have been exploited, and the Ministry of Labour will pursue any employer that violates the rights of workers. We will not turn a blind eye to any infraction of the labor laws of this country. Mr. Speaker, and that's the reason why during the year in introducing these measures, we have appointed 6 new labor officers to complement our lot, and we are targeting to employ additional officers and target a senior personnel very experienced in the field of industrial relations, to work as a consultant in the ministry shortly. Mr. Speaker, in the area of occupational health and safety, we are working with the Ministry of Education in the process of streamlining occupational safety and health in the school curriculum, and that process has begun. We also translated key labor laws into Chinese, given the number of Chinese employers operating and employees in Guyana. And earlier, in 2012, we translated those same laws into Portuguese as well. We also had interaction with the Ministry of Education, and interventions on the issue of child labor were conducted in schools across Guyana. The HIV and AIDS regulations have been gazetted and tabled in this House, with mining, manufacturing, noise, and chemical regulations completed, and we hope to have them vetted by the Attorney General Chambers before they go through the same process. In the area of the Board of Industrial Training, Mr. Speaker, the total number of persons trained in 2013 was 2,304, with the apprenticeship program having 95 youths who commenced training at Port Morant, 68 of whom were Gaisuko Training Center at Port Morant, 10 at Barama, GPL 17, and this lot represented the largest block of apprentices under the BIT scheme for a number of years. The National Training Project for Youth Empowerment completed training for 1,537 persons, certified in the area of engineering, electrical work, construction, health services, information, technology and clerical work, and home economics. The single parent training program completed 447 persons at the end of last year, certifying in garment manufacturing, construction, cosmetology, catering, and some as drivers, salespersons. And this would answer the question, the issue raised by Honorable Member Valda Lawrence, whether we are sticking to one program. In the past, it was merely cosmetology and maybe garment. We have moved into construction and the other areas. We also have had extended programs where 113 persons were certified at the forestry training school, 112 and 112 at the evening class program conducted by Gaisuko, mostly in the area of information technology. Those at the forestry training school have been conducted in the area of forestry, harvesting, and other activities. Mr. Speaker, because we have attached grave importance to the Board of Industrial Training scheme, a number of companies have applied, and we have examined their applications with what they are doing, and we certified over this period new companies in addition to Gaisuko, GPL, and GNIC, which existed before. We've added to that Barama Company Limited. The Republic Bank has been approved, and we are in consultation with them on their training program for school leavers in the banking industry. And we are working with the Forestry Commission, which we will certify them as a master's under that program. During the year also, Mr. Speaker, we have acquired 2 new Bobcat machines, heavy-duty equipment with implements to enhance our training program for heavy-duty equipment operators, since this skill is in high demand with an equally high response rate. So added to the 2 which we already have, we now have 4, which we will carry across the country to increase our training in this program. And again, this is in response, this answer would be in response to what Ms. Vola Lawrence said just now, that we should not stick into merely one program. We are moving ahead. In addition to that, Mr. Speaker, we have been in consultation with the Minister of Health and the Ministry of Health, and we've seen the need to train more biomedical trainees, bring them into the field, because that has become a scarce area of endeavor, and we want to be self-sufficient. Hitherto, that program, those aspects of the work was done by Cubans, and we are hoping to commence training of about 15 persons in that area very shortly. We have also, over the year, Mr. Speaker, continued the school retention ILO tackle project on the highway, where we targeted 360 children representing the entire population of Dora Secondary, Kurukuru Primary, and Nursery class on the Linden-Soesdijk Highway. That project, which came to an end at the end of the last year, saw an investment of $222,878 financed mainly by the ILO, with Guyana's contribution amounting to $365,000. Prior to that project, Mr. Speaker, records from the Dora Secondary, for example, showed a 65% average attendance rate. Kurukuru Primary, a 77% attendance rate, and with 56% at the nursery level. Consultation with parents and teachers revealed that the primary reasons why many children were unable to attend school regularly were due to financial constraints. Our project intervention included the following. We had teachers and school administrators training program, numeracy and literacy program, a nutrition support and transportation program, parenting workshop, and psychological support. The program, which was launched in September 2011, saw within 2 weeks of its implementation that attendance had moved from 64% to 94%. The other results included punctual and regular teachers and students' attendance because they were provided with transportation. The teachers' attrition rate had reduced considerably. The school, for the first time, presented 18 children to write the National Grade 6 examination in 2012. The previous highest number never exceeded 7. The school entered into the National Poetry Competition and copped a prize at that competition. One student at Dora Secondary School recorded 8 CXC subject passes, the best performance the school had in a decade. The ILO project, as I indicated, Mr. Speaker, concluded, and I'm advised, because my ministry was working in conjunction with the Ministry of Education, that this project will continue by the Ministry of Education. The U.S. Department of Labor ILO HIV/AIDS project also concluded recently. This project started in October 2003 and concluded on February 2014. It was funded by the United States Department of Labor between the years 2003, 2006, to the tune of $397,000. And between the period 2006-2012, PEPFAR funded the program to the tune of nearly $1 million. The government of Guyana's contribution was merely in the form of releasing workers and participants within the government sector to cooperate and to work with the project. The project had a national coordinator and was effectively and independently supervised by the tripartite body consisting of the Ministry of Labor, the Guyana Trades Union Congress and FITUG, as well as the KG representatives. The program saw many benefits, Mr. Speaker. Top of the list was the working of the HIV/AIDS regulations, which was drafted and which we had gazetted and tabled in the House recently, as I mentioned earlier. They had the national HIV/AIDS policy developed. They've had partnership formed with 33 companies in various sectors, and they had about 30,000 employees trained during that period to raise the education and awareness about HIV/AIDS at the workplace, particularly in the security, mining, manufacturing, media, banking, and agricultural companies. They've also mounted successive education and awareness campaigns throughout this country and hosted numerous training for employees and employers in counseling and educating persons and for the focal points at the workplaces. The tripartite grouping, Mr. Speaker, with the end of that program, will continue its work with the national tripartite body to oversee and monitor HIV/AIDS regulations and other issues at the workplaces. The Central Recruitment and Manpower Agency, during the period 2013, Mr. Speaker, registered a number of 3,099 applicants, and as a result of those registrations, were able to place 2,596 of them at workplaces in the areas of supervisory work, clerical typists, customer service reps, receptionists, and in craft-related areas, welders, drivers, fitter machinists, mechanics, machine operators, skilled and semi-skilled workers, factory workers, cleaners, sales clerks, and laborers, as well as security officers, were also added to that list. 2014, Mr. Speaker, will see the program being further decentralized, with the recruitment and placement officers appointed and placed in every region of this country and having an integrated network system. Staff members have been trained, and we are in the process of installing a new software system and equipment to modernize the service of the Central Recruitment and Manpower Agency so that persons can use the service from any region as long as they have the internet service. With respect to the Cooperatives Department, Mr. Speaker, in the year 2013, there were 80 expressions of interest from groups desiring to form, to become and to form the friendly societies, rules of which were submitted to the department and vetted, and meetings were held with those steering committees of each of the group, with consideration and approval given to most of them. They have also, over the period, conducted investigations into the Friendly Society's activities, 3 of those. They have audited 50 and released 47 audit reports to these societies, and they have had a total of new registration of about 30, while they conducted field visits of about 9 of these agencies based on reports received. With respect to the cooperative societies, 4 new ones have been registered, 2 were cancelled in 2013. Inquiry and investigations were held against 3 of the societies. Amendment for rules of those societies, we had 1 investigation done and the amendment took place, with 42 audits taking place. All the audit reports have been released to these bodies, and we have had, based on reports and requests by the cooperative societies, 61 field audits concluded. Mr. Speaker, yesterday, Honorable Member Ms. Kisoon made reference to co-ops to quote me and to highlight some of the importance and to point out that they must be concerned with the advertisement that some 212 co-ops have been slated for cancellation. We have already been in receipt of a letter of concern and expression of willingness to work with the ministry, but from the leader of the opposition's office under the signature of Mr. Joseph Harmon. I've had a meeting with Dr. Rupert Rupnarayan on the concern expressed by one society, and I've had discussion with Mr. Clement, Honorable Member Mr. Clement Rohi, in his capacity as General Secretary of the PVP over concerns expressed by another set of cooperatives, and to indicate that in all these areas, we will be examining the list and to ensure that every society that wishes to continue and show that willingness to continue, we'll give them that opportunity, but we want to ensure that we start and that all the issue pertaining to good governance would be observed. Many of the societies, however, Mr. Speaker, will not have an impact on cooperatives, since many are defunct for over 10 years, a decade, and we are merely cleaning the records of these. As I indicated, not a single society or member's assets will be put in jeopardy with this exercise. Our willingness to continue to work with every single organization and body that's willing to come forward and to encourage compliance with the law and good governance, as well as to assist in good management practice, we will work with them. The 2014 allocation under the budget, Mr. Speaker, would see $383 million, $159, sorry, expended or being voted in the budget for labor administration, which will cover employment costs estimated about $97 million, with other costs to the tune of about $286 million. We also have budgeted under this program 46.8 million for our capital program. The budget allocation for 2014 with respect to these agencies, therefore, Mr. Speaker, will see the continuation of these programs with improved results and participation in 2014. I now turn, Mr. Speaker, to some of the salient points raised in the budget and which have been raised by members during the course of the debate. I want to deal, sir, first of all, with respect to the issue of wages and workers' interests. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Minister of Finance indicated that budget 2014 is expected to see the economy growing by 5.6%, and with the world economy, when you compare that, we'll see a growth of about 3.7%. What is significant, Mr. Speaker, is that for the year 2013, we have had the highest growth rate over the period, showing 5.2% increase, with inflation pegged at about 0.9%, the lowest inflation rate in almost a decade. Compared to the world performance, Mr. Speaker, that the world performance averaged a mere 3%. When you take 5.2%, Mr. Speaker, as the economic growth, measure up with the rate of inflation, and you examine what was paid to public workers as well as what was done for workers in other sectors, you will see that 2013 has been one of the most successful years in decades for the workers of this country. Real wages has been protected in a real way. unlike, Mr. Speaker, what has happened in the past, I wanted to prevent going into it. But Honorable Member Valda Lawrence, Honorable Member Valda Lawrence, in her presentation made mention to a not a cent more, a statement alluded to earlier in Dr. Jagan's life as a politician and administrator of this country. The issue has been one which has been raised several times but must be given clarity. Dr. Jagan did not in a high-handed way said not a cent more. He was engaged in negotiations with the unions, made offers and in fact paid offers and indicated that he didn't have more money after he would have made. He was involved in the true process of collective bargaining, unlike what had happened in the past. In the mid-1980s, Mr. Speaker, in the mid-1980s, we had the infamous Hoyt Circular, which proscribed collective bargaining. No agency, no one was allowed to engage in any form of collective bargaining and settling any agreement with anyone. That's what we had in the 1980s. In 1979, we had the withdrawal of increments and refusal to pay workers their benefits. While for 2 years in the 1980s, there was introduced a wage freeze. That must be measured with what has happened between 1992 to 2013. In addition to that, Mr. Speaker, the situation in the country in the 1980s got so miserable and so desperate for workers that analysis done by high-ranking economists, including Professor Thomas, showed that real wages in the 1980s declined by 45% below the 1942 level. Below the 1942 level. In addition to that, sir, in addition to that, when we compared in the 1980s and put the food, the diet of the slaves under slavery, put the food and cost it in the 1980s, we found that the slaves were enjoying a better cost than the workers in this country. And those studies were done. Those studies were done, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when you examine the performance of the economy over the years under the PPPC administration, and when you examine the wages paid, you will find that the PPPC administration has improved real wages in a real way. In a real way. In addition to that, Mr. Speaker, throughout the period, even when there was poor performance in many sectors, we see that wages were paid, some level of wages. But that is not all, Mr. Speaker. That is not all. When you look, in addition to that, when you look around the country and you witness development, even the blind people would say that they have never seen development of this magnitude. Look around the countryside, Mr. Speaker, and see the numerous homes. The workers in this country have been given the opportunity to own their own homes. In the past, sir, the workers in this country were limited to housing opportunities, and they were limited to banking facilities and loans. Interest loans were in the vicinity of was in the vicinity of 20 and 21%. Under the PPP administration, that dropped to 3.95% for low income. Workers who are low income can own their own homes as a result of that, with repayment being less than what it takes for you to rent a bottom house these days. So every worker is being encouraged. More and more public servants, Mr. Speaker, are given opportunity under the scheme to own their own homes. Police officers, public servants are all given in this 30,000. When you look at the economy, Mr. Speaker, you will see progress in the banking sector. With over a decade of progress in the banking sector, profits increasing, asset base increasing with every passing year. Look at every one of the financial reports. Look at large companies, Mr. Speaker, and you will find that every single large company, and even those mushrooming, are becoming very, very large companies, establishing branches outside of Georgetown. Georgetown is no longer the hub for business activities. Almost in every village, in every region, there are many business activities and employment creation in these areas.
Your time is
Mr.
up,
Speaker.
honourable member. You'll need an extension of 15
Yes,
minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the honourable member be given 15 minutes to continue his presentation.
So, Mr. Speaker, I now turn to the
Granted.
issue of the sugar industry, something that has been near, dear, and close to my heart. I know a number of persons and a number of our brothers and comrades, honourable members in this House, have expressed genuine concerns, but some have expressed concerns to the extent that they want to damage the industry. They believe it is no more. But sugar has over 300 years of history. And as a young man, I grew up reading the story of British Guyana is about the sugar industry, not anything else. The story of Guyana and the history of Guyana is about the history of the sugar industry.